During the campaign, President Biden laid out an ambitious plan to make our community safer. And that's why, in part, yesterday, senior members of his team, Domestic Policy Advisor Susan Rice, White House Public Engagement Director Cedric Richmond, hosted a virtual discussion with leaders of gun violence prevention groups to discuss our shared goals. The very gun violence prevention organization named for James Brady was part of that discussion, along with Giffords, Everytown for Gun Safety, and Moms Demand Action. These organizations all have a critical role to play. Gun violence may not be in the headlines today or right now, but gun violence continues to fracture American communities and American families every single day. Last year, we saw a historic spike in homicides across America, and we know gun violence in our cities disproportionately affects Black and brown individuals. Last month, we also saw a near record increase in the number of gun sales. We look forward to working with gun violence survivors and advocates and sharing more in the weeks and months ahead about our efforts to make our communities safer. Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. Does the White House believe it can take executive action to address gun control, or is it going to take a legislative approach? And if you do believe you can take executive action, why haven't you done so yet?
Well, first I will say that, the president addressing gun violence in the country and putting in place additional safety measures is something that the president has a personal commitment to, and his history on this issue is evidence of that. He's obviously taken on the NRA twice and won, and he is happy and eager to do that in the future. Part of our engagement is working with groups to determine what the steps are that can be taken, but I don't have anything to preview for you at this point in terms of what the policy will look like or what form it will take.
Even though it may not, you can't point to the fact that it in fact had stopped it before. Do you want more of them on the street? Do we want to do that?
So to gun owners out there who say, well, a Biden administration means they're going to come for my guns.
Bingo. You're right if you have an assault weapon. The fact of the matter is they should be illegal, period.
Kamala Harris, one of the things she says is that within the first 100 days, if Congress didn't act on gun control efforts or on background checks, she would act by executive order.
You can. We did that in our administration, act by executive order on 30 different executive orders. The problem with that is if it's just an executive order, what happens is the next guy comes along and he wipes it all out, which the president did.
Upon being elected, I will give the United States Congress 100 days to get their act together and have the courage to pass reasonable gun safety laws. And if they fail to do it, then I will take executive action.
I want to tell you, if I'm elected and I'm coming for you and gun manufacturers, I'm going to take you on and I'm going to beat you. I'm the only one who's done it.
So, House Resolution Bill 127 was introduced on January 4th of 2021. So, real quick right there in January it was introduced, knowing probably that the Biden administration was soon incoming, no doubt, and that something like this was more of a possibility now than it's been in the last 4 years. So, we're just going to kind of run through some of the garbage stuff that's in this bill. There's a lot of it. I'll put links down in the description so that you can find and track its progress as it's introduced and stuff, and so you can actually read it in full if you want. So here we go. I've highlighted some things, and we're going to go through these. So the bill is basically to provide for the licensing of firearm and ammunition possession and the registration of firearms, and to prohibit the possession of certain ammunition that's out there. So if we go down, here's the firearm regulation system they're wanting to do. The information required, it says the make, model, serial number of the firearm, the identity of the owner of the firearm, the date the firearm was acquired by the owner, and where the firearm will be stored is required as information to register the firearm. There will be a database under this act. The Attorney General will establish and maintain a database for all firearms registered pursuant to this subsection. The Attorney General will make the contents of the database accessible to all members of the public, all federal, state, and local law enforcement authorities, and all branches of the United States Armed Forces, and all state and local governments as defined by the Bureau. So basically, there will be a database that the Attorney General will have on the national level of every gun that's out there, where it's kept, what make, what model, what caliber, when you bought it, and your neighbor down the street that you may not know You may not want them to know that you have guns. You may not want your neighbors to know that you have a couple $2,000 ARs in your vault, that you have this mass amount of wealth of gun collection there that you may not want them to know about. Well, now they can know about it. It's public information. Anybody can get on the internet and see it. It's documents that are open to the public. You could literally get on, punch in your neighbor's name, and see any gun that he has in his possession and where he stores it. So again, obviously this is just absolutely crazy. Licensing system, there will be a license, just like a driver's license they're wanting to make, or you have to have a license to carry a firearm. You must be 21 years of age to even get the license. You must obviously undergo a criminal background check, which is something we've been doing anyways. You must undergo a psychological evaluation conducted in accordance with basically what the Attorney General puts forth as acceptable. Successfully complete a training course certified by the Attorney General in the use of safety storage of a firearm, and that includes at least 24 hours of a training class. So that's probably a week worth of training. I'm assuming it'd be something like hunter safety course so that you could have a license. The individual will have to have an effective insurance policy. So they're going to help out their insurance buddies. They want their insurance buddies to come out with firearms insurance, and you would then have to carry a firearms insurance just like you have to have car insurance to drive a car. And if you don't have firearm insurance, you would be fined. We're going to get to that kind of stuff later. So if you want to display an antique firearm, so let's say that great-great-grandpa brought home his M1 Garand from the war, and you have it on display, or maybe you have something older, maybe you have an old flintlock that was great-great-great-great-great-grandpa's, or something like that, or an old pirate blunderbuss. Doesn't matter. You have an antique firearm and you want to have it on display over the mantle, on your fireplace. Well, you have to have a license specifically for that. Believe it or not, there is a license so that you can display an antique firearm in your house. Because I'm assuming under this licensing and restriction, every gun will have to be locked in a locked place. So if you want one on open display, there is a license for that. So, of course, just like we all figured, there's a military-style weapons license. The Attorney General is going to do a bunch of stuff with military weapons. We'll get into that later. Psychological evaluation is part of the psychological evaluation. Listen to how ridiculous this is. The licensed psychologist will interview any spouse of the individual, any former spouse of the individual, and at least 2 other persons who are a member of the family or an associate of the individual to further determine if the state of the mental and emotional and relational stability of the individual is in relation to firearms. So basically, they want to be able to interview your wife, your ex-wife, and 2 character witnesses to make sure that you aren't crazy before they will allow you to have a firearm. So obviously, that is something that is really easy to manipulate. People that don't like you could lie, your ex-wife could lie, whatever, give a bad impersonation, and there you go. Now you can't own a gun anymore. The individual, there is some stuff here. It says, with a mental illness, disturbance, or diagnosis, including depression, homicidal, suicidal, attempted suicide, or addicted to a controlled substance within the Controlled Substances Act, or alcohol, or a brain disease, including dementia or Alzheimer's, then you can't own a gun. Some of those things I'm pretty sure are already true right now. But anyways, this is saying that you can't own a gun if you have those. Authorized for lack of firearm insurance. So again, if you don't have firearm insurance, you cannot be authorized to get the license to have a gun. The license will expire. Just like everything else in the government, like when you have to go down to the DMV and it's extremely painful and excruciating and you have to have all these different documents to prove things, you will now have to do that with your firearms. Probably not at the DMV, it'll probably be at like a sheriff's station or your police station, your police chief station, whatever, and you have to go down there with some of that garbage because your license will expire and they want to be able to suck you dry for money. Let's continue on into this garbage bill. Military-style weapons defined, and this is military-style weapon means, and they've got it in parentheses or in quotes here. It means any of the firearms or copies or duplicates of the firearms in any caliber known as a Norinco, a Mitchell, a Polytechnologies, Action Arms, Israeli Military Industries, a Beretta AR-70, a Colt AR-15, a Fabrique Nationale, Steyr AUG, SWD M10, M11, M11, M12, Intech, Tech 9, Tech DC9, Tech 22, revolving cylinder shotguns such as a street sweeper or a Striker 12, a semi-automatic rifle that has the ability to accept a detachable magazine, and at least 2 of either a folding stock, a pistol grip, a telescoping stock, a bayonet mount, a flash suppressor, or a threaded barrel designed to accommodate a flash suppressor, and or a grenade launcher, a semi-automatic pistol that has the ability to accept detachable magazines and has at least 2 of an ammunition magazine that attaches to the pistol outside of the grip. So right there, they're coming for AR pistols immediately right on the first one. A threaded barrel capable of accepting a barrel extender, flash suppressor, forward grip, or a silencer, a shroud that is attached to or partially completely encircles the barrel, and that permits the shooter to hold the firearm with the non-trigger hand without being burned. A manufactured weight of 50 ounces and more when the pistol is unloaded. A semi-automatic version of an automatic firearm. A semi-automatic shotgun that has at least 2 of these, a folding telescoping stock, a pistol grip that protrudes, magazine, well, so whatever. Anyways, it's a lot of the same stuff. It's the exact same stuff basically for pistols or rifles. So now if we kind of get into this, it says, it shall be unlawful for a person to sell or give a firearm or ammunition to another person unless the person has notified the Attorney General of the sale or gift. So now they're talking into how they're trying to limit personal sales or gifts or handing one down, something like that. So both people have to have a license, and you have to notify the Attorney General that it's changing hands. It shall be unlawful for a person to loan a firearm or ammunition to another person unless that person has notified the Attorney General. So basically, you have a son or a brother and they want to go hunt. Well, they're out of their 308 ammo or they're out of their 6.5 Creedmoor ammo, and you loan them a box. That is illegal unless you tell the Attorney General. Or even another step further, you have a relative who wants to go hunt and you're going to loan them your 243 bolt action rifle so that they can go deer hunt, and now you no longer can do that because you have to notify the Attorney General in plenty of time, and I'm sure that you will have to get some form of letter back stating that it's okay for them to have it, and so on and so forth. So there you go. It shall be unlawful for a person holding a valid license issued under this section to transfer a firearm to any individual who has not attained 18 years of age. So, fathers out there, you can no longer loan a weapon to your sons to hunt or anything like that unless they are over the age of 21. Whoever knowingly violates this section, okay, now we're going to get into kind of some of the penalties. I'm not going to read all that. Basically, from everything I saw, depending on the different sections and how you violate it and to what extent you violate it, the fines are as little as $10,000 and as much as $100,000, and I see up to 20 years in prison. So, like I said, this bill is just complete garbage. It shall be unlawful for any person to possess ammunition that is over a 50 caliber or greater. A 50 caliber or greater. So no more 50 BMG for you. Nothing that's 50 caliber. 50 Whisper's another one. You can't have that one either. I'm sure 50 Beowulf would be too. It shall be unlawful for any person to possess large capacity ammunition feeding device. No more belt feds and no more drum mags. So this bill is just complete crap, and obviously it's a total infringement. I just got introduced on January 4th, and it's only been introduced online if you follow it. Like I said, I'll put the links in the description so you can kind of see what's happening and where it's being introduced. In years past, I would say this thing had absolutely zero chance of going through because it is so crazy and it is so extreme. But seeing kind of the logical or the illogical representation that's in higher government now, I don't know. I mean, I can't say that it's completely impossible like I would have said. People that are bold on the Second Amendment and that speak out about it, especially in that higher government level, are doing so less and less and less and less. So I would say do what you can. Call your representative, your congressman, write a letter, send an email, and let's just keep watching this thing and where this goes, and just know that the further it makes it, the more, we're going to have to be vocal about wanting it to be shut down and to not be extended further. And to everybody who voted for the liberal agenda to get into power, thank you, because now we have this to look forward to for the next 4 years. I think you're going to see a lot of stuff like this. I don't know that this one's going to pass. I think it's as kind of extreme. Actually, it's way, way extreme. So I don't really think this one will pass, but things to look out for, something that would cripple the gun industry and really any industry. And I really think this is the way it would be done, would be, taxes would be an obvious one, but the thing that was really kind of like the sleeper legislation that would definitely cripple the gun industry is making gun manufacturers and ammunition manufacturers liable for their stuff at all times. And so basically what I mean by that is they'd make it where you could sue the company. They had strict liability. You could sue them for anything at any time. So if someone goes and buys, a Colt or a Bushmaster AR, and they go out and they, commit a tragic mass shooting and they unfortunately kill a lot of people, then the families or the business that was assaulted or the school that was assaulted by this, individual could then sue. Not the individual who has no money and probably committed suicide, because most of them do after something like that, but then could sue Bushmaster or the gun company or the ammo company. They could sue both, and there would be nothing those guys could do but fight that in court.